We have lined up an illustrious list of speakers for you so that we can try to touch upon what is happening as far as technology is concerned in most of the aspects of maritime sector. Now, technology is something which is evolving very fast, and the pace of growth of technology has also become multifold now. In fact, as many of you can see from the white beard that I am sporting, that I am not that young anymore. From 1986 to 90, I also studied computer science. I did BTech in computer science in one of the prestigious institutions of India, that is IIT Kanpur. I went on to do Master of Science from University of Maryland at College Park in USA from 1990 to 92. But today, to be honest with you, I am scared of telling people that I have studied computer science. Because I studied computer science, what can be termed as stone age of computer science. Today, my usage is limited to email, maybe WhatsApp or Telegram, and to some extent, Twitter. But nothing beyond that. Now you can see that, somebody in 1980s who studied from a good institution in India, quite a good institution in USA, but technology has changed so much. That is why it is very important to keep pace with what is happening as far as technology is concerned in maritime sector. So I'm very happy to see that all of you are here because that is the objective which you are having in mind. Just one more thing and then I will leave it to the experts. I'm very happy to say that for last 29 years that I have been working in the government, maritime sector is one sector where I have seen the maximum application of what is happening in the classroom, what is happening in the laboratory, and applying that to what is happening on the ground in real life. I would like to give an example. We are very closely associated at Chennai with National Technology Center for ports, waterways, and coasts, what we call NTCPWC, which is a center of excellence of our ministry at Chennai. And both at Chennai Port and Kamarajar Port at Ennore, we have been seeing how the scientists and researchers at this center are giving us practical solutions for the problems that we are facing in real life in our ports. This is one of the best applications that I have seen in my career. So let me not stand between the experts and you. I extend a warm welcome to Shripad Nayak sir, as mentioned by the MC. He is right now occupied in another session and will be joining us soon. I extend a warm welcome to the speakers, Mr. Pradeep Desai, Chief Technology Officer of DP World, Mr. Somnesh Joshi, Deputy Director General from Ministry of IT and Communication, Government of India, Mr. Dhruv Garg, who is partner of Management Consulting in PwC. I extend a warm welcome to Ms. McLean, the Secretary General on Zero Emission Ship Technology Association, Mr. Vikas Agrawal, Managing Director, South Asia, AP Moller Maersk, Mr. Koen Corneli, Manager, Port Projects, Port of Antwerp, Bruges, Belgium, Dr. D. Kumran Raju, Principal Scientist, NTCPWC, who will be joining us soon, Mr. Kusisto, Sales Director, tugs, naval and work boats, Kongsberg Maritime, Finland, and my dear colleague and friend, Dr. N. Vinod Kumar, who is chairperson of Chennai, please don't occupy my post. Dr. N. Vinod Kumar, chairperson, Mormugao Port Authority, Goa, and most important of all, a warm welcome to you, the dear participants who have come here in large number to attend this session. Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you, sir, for the initial remarks. I will now request Mr. Sumnesh Joshi, Deputy Director General, Ministry of IT and Communication, Government of India, to address this August gathering. Sir.
Respected Shri Paliwalji, all the distinguished guests, eminent speakers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to everyone. See, last year in the month of July, in Digital India Week at Gandhinagar, Honorable Prime Minister has termed the next 10 years as the decade. That is, these 10 years are going to be driven by the technology, all the service sector, manufacturing sector, name any sector, the technology is going to play a very, very important role for business processes or service delivery. And subsequently, in the month of October, Honorable Prime Minister has launched the 5G services in our country. And I am proud to say that India has rolled out 5G. It's one of the fastest in the world. We have more than 300,000 towers in a record time and 100 million 5G connections. So it's really a record, and we are going to make all 4G connection into 5G connection soon. And you know, we haven't stopped here in the telecom sector. Already, Honorable Prime Minister has unveiled the Bharat 6G vision document that India is going to lead in the 6G technology development across the world. So we are committed that benefit of the telecom sector should reach to every citizen or resident in our country, in every nook and corner. Right? So we have to ensure that services should be available. We call it a Antodaya, that Ant ka Uday, that is, we have to serve the person who is standing at the last mile. And as far as the connectivity is concerned, connectivity is there, but what government wants to give a high-speed connectivity. So already a program has been launched, that is a 4G saturation program, where remaining 26,000 plus villages where 4G connectivity is not there, that is going to be there very soon by 2024. So everywhere we will have the very high speed connectivity. Because when we talk about any ecosystem, for example here the maritime sector we are talking about, but it's not only the ports or the high sea, because there's the indirect stakeholder that is available in any form across the country. Maybe fisherman is residing somewhere in any remote village, or someone who's associated with the trade with respect to the maritime trade. So we require a connectivity if we want everyone should be on the ecosystem. So the connectivity is playing a very important role where government is committed, and very soon everyone will have the 4G connectivity. Now, apart from the mobile connectivity, the fiber is also there. Under the BharatNet project, 200,000 gram panchayats have already connected on the optical fiber. And for the remote area, 6,000 plus satellites or VSATs already deployed. So now we don't have any area where we can't reach through the connectivity. because that is a very important. If any technological thing, anything that we are going to deliver to the smart devices, we require the connectivity. That is important. Now, coming to the 5G, now the use of the emerging technology in the maritime sector. Maritime sector is a huge potential for these technology, and particularly the 5G technology, IoT, and AI. Why 5G? See, when we say the 4G we are using and the 5G has specific some attributes that is not available in the 4G. So, of course, it gives the high speed, number one, then the low latency, and it is not enabling the communication between mobile to mobile. You can communicate with the sensors, IoT devices also. That is the beauty of that. And you can create your own private 5G network just like the LAN. That is also there, all the security and the more reliability. So and it can communicate with the satellite also. So the 5G technology has the potential to change or transform any sector, the way we are delivering service. See, internationally, people have started, particularly in the maritime sector. Singapore has already developed the 5G, and they are primarily, using the 5G for the automated guided vehicles and automated cranes. See, because it is high speed, so in the real time and low latency. So in the real time, you can, transmit or stream the high definition pictures. See, for example, the drone you have deployed, right, and the 5G is there. So whatever the pictures or the resolution, so the high definition, all the detailing you are getting in the real time. You can use for the surveillance or maybe to find any defect in the product, or just to see how the cranes are moving. So in the automatic crane system, when there's no need that someone should at the top of the crane, just sitting in the AC and then using this or cameras and using 5G technology, he can maneuver the entire operation. So these are one of the examples, and the experts will dwell more example, but this 5G is having immense potential, right? On the port side as well as in the high sea also. See, suppose sometimes we have to undertake the rescue operations. We want the communication between vessels and ships, right? So all we can create the network using the 5Gs. Now, when we speak about the driverless cars, so automated vessels, right? So that can be, guided using these technologies. Drones, I have already spoken. So you name the thing, all the traffic management, and maybe something is happening, so maybe you can sense, the environment anywhere using the IoT sensor and communicate through the 5G. So 5G is having the immense potential, and one has to, reap the benefit of this technology. Now, what Department of Telecom is doing, we are incentivizing all the startups who are working for development of the application using the 5G, all the 5G use cases. And some of the startups already worked in the maritime sectors. And one of the startup has developed the Kendall Compass that provide the private and secure network between the vessels. One has developed the integrated video surveillance and security system. One has developed the integrated water quality monitoring sensors. Someone has developed the low latency in the port, shipping, manufacturing industry, those type of applications. So startups are working. So, and DOT has set up or in the process of completion the 100 state-of-art 5G use case labs that are there in the 100 selected higher educational institutes to develop the 5G applications. So, of course, because India is surrounded by the sea and we are emerging as a world power, so it is very important that we have to bring the technological advances in all the sector, and particularly in the maritime sector, to improve and facilitate trade, shipping, and defense, and to empower everyone or livelihood around the oceans. And DOT is having the field offices across states, more or less. And so state government or the PSUs or the port authorities, can reach out and can start engagement at the local level and find out the ways how they can automate further, processes, and how they can incorporate the technologies and take the startup along with you and so they can come out with some innovations. And DOT is giving the incentive to them. So as a team effort, what we can do, we can create the innovations. And last but the least, I would like to mention here See, it's not only the 5G. See, maybe I'm from the telecom, but so maybe the 5G is more relevant to me. But whatever innovation we are creating and we have to create, we have seen that the digital public good infrastructure, that term that India has coined, and the G20, we have showcased the rest of the world that how we can come out with more innovation. So it's a high time we should work together along with the telecom technologies and DPI and create whatever is possible to get the more efficiency in the port, as well as make the life of the person who is at the ship or the vessel. And just I remember and I can visualize, if there is a 5G, the person who is at a 6 month or 8 months at the vessel, if he is able to make a good video call with near and dear one, that its mental ability and productivity will increase. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the panel discussion segment of this session on emerging technologies in maritime sector. And we have the panelists, Mr. Pradeep Desai, Chief Technology Officer, DP World, Mr. Madat MacLean, Secretary General, Zero Emission Ship Technology Association, Mr. Vikash Agarwal, Managing Director, South Asia, AP Malamax, Mr. Koen Corneli, Manager Port Projects, Port of Antwerp, Bruges, Belgium, Dr. D. Kumaran Raju, Principal Scientist, National Technology Center for Ports, Waterways and Coasts, Mr. Jussi Kusisto, Sales Director, Tugs, Naval and Workboats, Kongsberg Maritime, Finland, OY. So I will request Mr. Dhruv Gad, Partner Management Consulting, PwC, to kindly set the context of this panel discussion and then take charge thereafter. Dhruv Gad.
Thanks, Manasi. Thanks a lot. We as PwC are, of course, also the knowledge partners of this event. And by virtue of this, I had the small privilege of choosing which session I could moderate. And I was really excited about this session in terms of the emerging technologies, just by looking at the kind of panelists which we had, because it's such an evolving and such a pertinent topic. And the kind of panelists which we had, I wanted to just discuss with them and look to demystify all the key words which we keep hearing, which are pretty much industry agnostic, right? Gen AI, IoT, we hear all these words. But it's wonderful to have a panel here which can probably give you the insights into what it actually means for the maritime sector. Before we move to the panel discussion, I mean, at a very broad level, if I were to look at the need and the genesis for emerging technologies, of course, there is a push, right? We are moving forward in terms of the kind of new age computing which today exists. But very naturally, there is a very, very big pull. I see three big pulls for technology today, not just and primarily in maritime sector, but even beyond that. The first of that big pull, of course, is what we all are seeing today is in the supply chains and the supply chain disruptions. The changing nature of supply chains, whether you talk about, the way offshoring, nearshoring, China plus one strategy, the need for evolution, the quicker evolution, the need for connected supply chains, right? It's no longer about ship telling you, the vessel telling you where the container is on the vessel and then not knowing where the box is when it's on the road. People expect the connected supply chains to be able to give them real-time information, and that's where a very, very big pull from the consumer, the big pull from the industry is there to in terms of saying, I need technology and I need technology in terms of real-time basis. The second big pull, thankfully so now, is on the entire decarbonization agenda, right? It's great to have speakers who will talk about this as well. But this decarbonization agenda, especially for the maritime sector, whether I look at it globally, whether it's with IMO, whether it's here in India, the decarbonization agenda is very, very critical, and technology will remain a very key enabler to do those activities. I mean, just imagine, if the zero emission of vessels, what we are talking about, which needs to be coming in place in the next decade or so, the kind of ships which we have today, if they were to all go obsolete, what is the kind of tonnage which is required, right? Can technology help solve that problem faster and in a much cheaper way is something which we need to look at. And then the third big pull is basically the need for port operators, maritime operators, whether it's with ship operators or elsewhere, to be able to be more efficient with what they have today, right? It's a very relevant topic for India, right? It's not about setting up new greenfield projects, but it's also about making sure that what we have today is more efficient, and it is relevant in terms of the global competition. So whether we talk about smart operations, with smart ships, with smart ports, that's where the agenda in terms of the pull mechanism of talking about that comes in as well. I've been in room with many of the CXOs across board, and the interesting thing is within 5 minutes the discussion shifts to technology, right? They don't talk about port. You know, I was talking to a CEO, and he said, I want to become the technology leader in my space, not the port leader, not the the tug leader. That will happen. The technology. If I'm the technology leader, that's how it will move. So that's how the push is coming through. Lastly, I mean, from an India perspective, the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday unveiled the Vision 2047, the blue economy, and the entire roadmap, right? If we are to become a $32 trillion economy, and the maritime sector here needs to serve that, right? It's not going to be only about new infrastructure creation. It is going to be how we are going to have the existing and the future infrastructure become more efficient. It's going to be how we are going to be able to be more greener in terms of nature. And in all those areas, technology will play a role. Right? So with that context, whether it's the local context, whether it's the global or the national context, we do understand that the kind of role which emerging technology will play. What I will now do is invite my fellow panelists here to shed some light and try to demystify this entire technology aspect. So maybe I'll start with Mr. Desai, Chief Technology Officer at DP World, to come in and share his experience. Right, Mr. Desai, we talk about all these new age terms, IoT, blockchain, data analytics. How in your experience, with your organization and elsewhere, you have been using these to really move forward in terms of the port efficiency aspects.
Thank you, Dhruv. First of all, greetings to the fellow esteemed panelists and to the audience. Thank you for the opportunity. I think before I get into the buzzwords, right, the IoTs and the blockchains and whatnot, I'd want to start off by saying that, India has, I want to lay it out in the context of India. India has this goal of being carbon net neutral by 2070. There is also a goal of reducing logistics cost as percentage of GDP. It's really, and DP World is marching lockstep and tandem when it comes to achieving these goals. We are actually committed to be carbon net neutral by 2050, and we are investing very heavily in reducing logistics costs. Now, tech becomes a huge enabler. Let me start with something called IoT, Internet of Things, right? These have existed for a long time. I mean, they started off with RFID chips that were placed to detect locations. GPS is some form of IoT, if you will. In today's age, we have IoT chips that are less than $1 and IoT chips that are, or devices that are more than $100. They detect pretty much everything, right? Whatever you want them to detect. They detect location, they detect temperature, they detect throughput, they detect velocity. Everything and anything to do with a machine, it detects and senses. Why does this become important? Because when you're getting goods from point A to point B, if you're going to ship a container of rice from Panipat to Peru, there are nearly 40 different or 50 different entities involved. There's freight forwarders, warehouses, transportation, terminals, ships, feeders, etc., etc. So if I, as a customer, want to make sure that I want to get my goods from point A to point B, and I want to know where my goods are so that customers at the destination don't face stockouts, it's highly necessary for us to be able to know where the container is. If you're transporting fish, you want to know that the temperature of the reefer container is well in order so that you avoid insurance losses and you avoid losses for the customer. So what we are trying to do, and I think we will get this to India as well, is every single part of the supply chain, we are actually equipping with sensors, the right kind of sensors. All of this data is fed into a single data platform that we have built, And it's not just data coming from these devices and sensors. We want to know the weather on the high seas. We want to know any political events that are going along the route. So you consume all of that, and then you cannot display. The very first step is to just display, right? And then just show where the container is. Is it on time? Is it not on time? That's the very first step. The second step beyond that is to be able to take corrective actions, not by humans, but actually by machines themselves, by systems. Can I reroute, for instance? Can I build a resilient supply chain? So I think IoT combined with what our esteemed colleague was saying earlier, 5G connectivity, and coupled with AI and analytics, which is this whole data collection and platform, really helps build this resilient supply chain. And I can give a few examples before I hand it back to you, Dhruv. You know, if any of us go visit our flagship terminal in Dubai in Jebel Ali, there are 4 terminals. Of course, you know, the crane operators are actually sitting in an air-conditioned office, right? I think my colleague referred to it earlier as well. And just with a little joystick, they're manipulating that huge key crane, and not in one terminal, in all the terminals. We have reduced the number of people. We have just given opportunity for the physically disabled to perform some of these jobs. You know, and the intervention also is only on a need basis. Because of the IoT devices, the cranes themselves adjust the velocity. They detect the fact that there's a pedestrian, they slow down. And in case there is a need, that's when, you know, operators get in. But yeah, that to me, I think sums up this whole IoT, AI, data analytics part. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Desai, you know, for shedding light on, you know, how the technology is actually working in these sectors today. Next, I will probably, you know, bring in Ms. McLean, Secretary General, Zero Emission Ship Technologies Association, right? You know, you are on a very pertinent, right? I think Mr. Desai talked about the supply chain and the aspect of it. But, you know, the decarbonization aspect, which I spoke about, right, in terms of saying the entire decarbonization agenda which is coming up, how one of the major areas is driving technology is being driven for zero emission in shipping, right? Shipping is a major aspect. What has been your experience in that entire field, and, you know, how you see the future of both technologies to drive this entire agenda?
Okay, if I could, is it possible to have my presentation?
Absolutely. I think you also have a
yeah,
presentation.
I can sit here. That's absolutely fine because I can see this.
You can stand and present if you want to. That's fine.
It's quicker like this as well, and more time for us to speak. So, first of all, a bit about the Zero Emission Ship Technology Association. We're an international trade association, and this is a very important point. We represent technology that is absolute zero emission at point of use on the vessel with minimal upstream impacts. And so what does that mean? This is a definition that was actually initiated by the World Shipping Council at ISGWGHG 13, and it means no emissions, no greenhouse gas emissions on the vessel, but also no greenhouse gas emissions throughout the supply chain. It does not take into account the greenhouse gas emissions of the materials used to create the products. It's the products themselves. So what does that mean in terms of technology? So, oh, that's very useful. Thank you very much. But I was about to skip forward, but I'd like to mention the fact that we have provisional consultative status at the International Maritime Organization, granted in 2022, with us only being founded in 2019. So we're a very young organization, but the importance of this, and to answer your question, sir, is we believe, or it is our intention, it is our purpose, to focus on the place we all need to get to, and that's absolute zero. So we're, dig where you stand, we're starting at absolute zero and supporting the shipping industry to create a pathway, a navigational chart to achieve absolute zero throughout the sector. So the technologies, these technologies are all TRL 9 and some are CRL 11. So TRL technology readiness level 9, so completely, they're fully developed, they're market ready. Some of them are already proliferated into the market. If you are interested in knowing which ones and how far and looking at case studies, please do look at our website and download the informational document that we submitted to IMO ISWG GHG 15. You can see that on the website. So, not to be to not take too much time in explaining, what we see across the top are wind propulsion technologies. These are really the low-hanging fruit when it comes, because they're retrofittable, and this is the most important thing we need to do now, is to start retrofitting absolute zero emission technologies to the current fleet, because when you add one of our zeros to your bottom line, you reduce your greenhouse gas emissions, and when you add wind propulsion, you also reduce your fuel costs. So all of these technologies that I'm showing here actually do reduce fuel costs. So with wind propulsion technologies, we can get anywhere from 5 to 98%, but 98% would not work with a retrofit. What you're seeing in the middle is a Dynarig, and this is a wind propulsion technology that can be used. I'm just going to see what my timing's like here. Oh, I didn't turn on. They can be used, but it would, you need a vessel that's designed as a wind ship for that to work. And what you're seeing across the bottom are, so we've got hydrogen fuel cells up to 100% zero emissions. They can also be added to your operating profile, APU, et cetera, to reduce your emissions. The same with maritime batteries, or better put, energy storage systems they can be retrofitted in, or we can get to 100% with new builds. Now, adding solar panels, here we see them as hatch covers or air lubrication, considerably reduces, well, no, I'm not going to say solar panels considerably can reduce your emissions. So bottom line, energy efficiency technologies equals reductions in fuel, equals, at the end of the day, both reductions in GHG emissions and costs. So the shipping industry is really an ecosystem, and from our perspective, this is what the ecosystem looks like from our perspective. I think each one of you might have put these stakeholders in different placements to each other, but I've created this organogram where we sit in the middle, zero emission vessels. The most important, obviously, is the ship owners and the technologies, and going out from there. So I just wanted I created this slide to make the point of the importance of collaboration. So, I mean, none of us are going to get there on our own, and I think that, we've been repeating this over. We all need to work together, and one of the things that we're doing. One of the things that we're doing as an association is we are bringing stakeholders together and seeing how we can achieve absolute zero emissions ecosystems together through workshops. So again, look at the website, check us out, sign up, get in touch, and let's work together to push the whole sector to where we all need to go, and that's absolute zero. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this hall sees the arrival of Shri Shripad Naik Ji, Honorable Minister of State for Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. Could I request you, sir, to kindly step up on stage and accept our greeting? Let us have a resounding of claps, ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the Honorable Minister of State for Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India, Shri Shripad Naik Ji. And could I request Shri Sunil Paliwal, Chairman of the Chennai Port Authority and Chairman of Kamarajar Port Limited, to kindly felicitate our session chair with a memento and a traditional stole from Assam called the Gamcha. Kindly accept this felicitation as a token of respect and appreciation. Over to Thank you, sir, for accepting, and thank you, Mr. Paliwal, for doing us the honors. Over to Dhruv, the moderator of the panel that was just ongoing. Yes, Dhruv.
Thanks, Mansi. Sir, pleasure to have you, and we will hear from you, towards the end of the session as well. But just continuing in terms of the session flow, I'd like to now invite Mr. Vikash Agarwal, MD, AB Moeller Maersk, to shed light upon in terms of, again, from a global supply chain player perspective, how technology is really playing a role in enhancing the global supply chain's visibility, and also very pertinent from an India perspective, reducing logistics cost as well.
Absolutely. I hope you can. Yeah. All right. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. One thing I need to, before I start talking about technology, emerging technology, I don't want to sound cliche about it. One part which we need to clearly understand what is really supply chain is all about. Typically, a supply chain we talk about is a physical flow, movement of goods from production to consumption, and this is what supply chain is all about. But if you see typically how a supply chain exactly works, what are the real nuances of the supply chain, and then I'll dwell into why technology starts to play a very, very important role for us. First is very clearly, supply chain is nothing but an integrated system of process, people, technology, and data on multiple countries, multiple region, organization. Secondly, you see there are multiple actors and stakeholders in a supply chain. When I say multiple actors and stakeholders, you need to really start really digging deep into it. We are talking about suppliers, but these suppliers are just not the suppliers, because you got to go maybe 5 or 6 levels of tiers of suppliers, because your suppliers are dependent on their suppliers, and their suppliers are dependent on other suppliers. So you can very well visualize your supplier is just not your supplier. He's dependent on multiple suppliers of their suppliers. So you have multiple tiers of suppliers. Then you have customers who are not the same customers. You have a classification of customers. Then you have production. You're not linked to only one areas. You're linked to multiple geography where you're producing things. You're sourcing and producing different places. You're then looking after a host of other things, different systems, different processes. Your supplier base, your service provider on the logistic, on the supply chain side, minimum, you talk to any companies, you are dealing with 50, 100 suppliers. So you can very well imagine how many variables you are playing with in a supply chain. And if you apply your mathematics on permutation combination, you're talking about thousands and thousands of combinations and options and choices what you got to make. For a normal human being, is it possible to make those right choices when you have so much of variability in your supply chain? That is something which we need to remember. Third thing, which you mentioned, connection. This supply chain, all these actors who are in your supply chain is acting on their own. They are all acting on their own. And the reality is everyone has to do a handshake actually, because one is linked to the other is linked to the next one. And that connection is what makes a supply chain really work. And this is where the dependency starts to appear. So you can clearly see how deep it gets and why supply chain gets so complicated and why we need technology here. Because as human beings, we have a limited capacity to process things and make a choice. And that is the third point on supply chain. And the fourth point, which you also need to remember, the load of data and information which is going through in the whole thing which is happening now. And who's capturing this data, how you are really concising those data into information, and how do you make a decision. Very important point, which I always remember whenever I go to my customer and talk to them. Most of you supply chain decision makers, you hardly see any physical movement of your supply chain. Most of you are making decisions based on the data, what you see in front of you. And can you imagine you're making decision on supply chain purely on information, whether it's on a spreadsheet, doesn't matter, but it's a data, information on which you decide the future of your supply chain of your companies. And it's not the physical flow. And so what it tells you is, if you have the wrong data in front of you, if you don't have the right data in front of you, you're not making a right choice. And this is where it starts to get a little complicated. And to top it up, this is all internal now. Then you have the external factors starts to play. COVID, we saw disaster, disruption. McKinsey reports clearly points out the frequency of the disruption and the impact of the disruption are getting more frequent and much more deeper. How do we manage those disruptions? On top of what we have to manage the internal supply chain complexity and the diversity of the supply chain. Then you have all the geopolitical risks which are happening around. Then you have the sustainability, the decarbonization pull, which you talked about. These demands are getting added on top of your supply chain complexity, which we are looking at. And this is where it starts to get really complicated. And this is what I wanted to talk about is you can't solve this problem through a normal human being intervention. You need technology. And as a matter of fact, I must say this, our industry, this logistics, supply chain, maritime, whatever you want to call it, we have been really slow. We have been a laggard, to be honest. You look into any industry, healthcare, retail, they have been much ahead in adopting technology and solving some of the problems which they have had. And technology has been a denominator, a common denominator for most of the changes we have seen across the industry and the industry which are really creating a value. And this is where we have to realize, and the future supply chain, the next generation supply chain, has to be very, very different. And we are, in spite of all the complication we have seen, it has to be agile and flexible. Agility, during the COVID times, we have figured out clearly, agility and flexibility. When we talk about agility and flexibility, we are looking at unmatchable actionability. Do you have an option to take an action when you see a challenge in your supply chain? Do you have that? Can you move fast? Can you change things? When you see a disruption, the port is congested, can you make a choice? Are you contracted for way too long? Do you have an option? Do you have a service provider who can change that for you? Or are you dependent on a service provider who's dependent on another third party? This unmatchable action is what is needed now in the future supply chain. The second part now, the speed of, or I call speed of delivery. Because now we are living in a world where everything is much faster. Your technology, your internet, your consumer, your customers are asking a different expectation. And when we talk about speed of delivery, now it is not only a speed of delivery. In fact, post-COVID, we want to slow it down actually. Because now you were rushing for cargo to arrive for the consumption. Post-COVID, you were flushed with cargo where you can't really consume it anymore. And so the customers wanted to be able to slow it down. And now the game changes again. So it's not about speed, it's the control on the speed of your supply chain. If you want to speed it up, can you speed it up? If you want to slow it down, can you slow it down? And all these, and I'm specifically calling it out because you have a relevance of technology in all these pieces together. Because you won't be able to do it until you have a technology to support you in that. And we need to understand these are the next generation supply chain requirements, which we all need to be mindful of. The other point which I also have the next generation supply chain, the global reach. As India, our share of global value chain is 1.5%. It's way too low. Our ambition is to grow that. Our export, we want to be $1 trillion export economy. We need to have a global reach. Our export has to double in the next 5-7 years. Can we double it by just banking on the same old supply chain? We can't. And this is where our global reach, that aspiration, what we want to have, will define the way we need to really look at our supply chain of the future. The other thing is, of course, you need optimized inventories. You need a lot more technology to help you out in running your systems, your businesses much more effective, much more resilient. And this is what COVID has taught us now. It's not about lowest costs anymore. You have to have a supply chain which is resilient. And resilience can only come through digital again. And I'm reminded now, because this is very interesting, when we had an inaugural session by our Honorable Prime Minister, talked about 4Ds: demography, demand, decisiveness, and democracy. I think we need to add the digital stack, the fifth D. And that is our strength of India. And the digital stack is what is needed, and I think, Sumnesh, you mentioned about it. That is our strength, and that is something which is needed, absolutely need of the hour. Some of the latest trend on the technology, what is happening in the supply chain, what we need to really start adopting is something which we need to talk about, is also autonomous warehouses or infrastructure, what we need. A lot of the deliveries which are happening through drones, automated warehouses, you need a lot more technology to start coming in. Amazon, if you see, they run their warehouses 60% much efficient than any other warehouses which are run. They have a better 40% better productivity in their labor cost, just because their warehouses are automated. The value of those automation and technology intervention is massive, it's immense. And this is where a lot of changes has to happen. The other, very quickly, I'll talk about a few other technology intervention which we have been talking about, is the connected technology, integrated technology piece which has to come through. We have also, I know, Government of India, ULIP, I'm sure you all are aware, what we need is a public digital infrastructure. And I think this is where India is taking a lead compared to a lot of the other economies where it is happening. ULIP has such a massive future potential. Could be another UPI, what we have managed to do on the financial side. ULIP could change the game, because this could standardize some of our data requirements, data analytics, and so that we create a blockchain, a common village, where a lot of data can be exchanged across, and that will drive a significant value for the global supply chain, as well as reducing the cost of logistics. This is where, moving from 14 to 9%, we will need those stuff. I'll stop here because I have so many things going around, but I know I have to be mindful of the time as well.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Agarwal. And you spoke about all the pertinent topics in terms of the connectedness and the collaboration and this entire element of digital stack. I think technology has this brilliant opportunity for India to leapfrog many things what we are right now doing. The kind of work which is right now going into activities like ULIP can potentially turn us into leapfrogging what many other places we are currently seeing in terms of connectedness of supply chains. It's an opportunity for both private as well as government sectors to work together. But also, talking about not just what is happening here in India, but also learning from experiences of what others have been doing internationally as well. It's great to have here Mr. Koen Corneli, from Antwerp Port, to also share his experiences in terms of what he has been seeing both within within Europe and specifically within that port, in terms of digitization, in terms of the trends and technologies, and how you have adopted those to move forward on this agenda.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting as well our friends of Chennai Port. One beautiful port of Antwerp, Bruges, in a small country in Europe, a small country but a huge port environment. Why Port of Antwerp, Bruges? A little bit of context of it. We merged recently together, so two sites, one port, one seaport and one riverine port. Why? To have financial strength, one brand. We are complementary ports, so we can help each other on being stronger in our environment. And as well, the most important thing is to be ready as the green hub for Europe. So we want to be the main player by importing green electrons and hydrogen via the Zeebrugge platform, connected via pipelines to Antwerp. It's the largest chemical cluster in Europe, second worldwide. The largest container terminal belongs to Antwerp as well. The largest car handling port in Europe as well. So if we look to all these factors, and I don't want to speak anymore about the challenges, because I know we all have the same challenges in this very changing world. I will go directly to the digitization of that port environment. So we use, for example, our port environment 120 square kilometers, 165 kilometers of quay length, 65,000 barge moves each year, 14,000, 15,000 deep sea going vessels. So I don't need to explain that we need digital solutions to help us manage a port environment like that. So what do we offer as a port authority as a service for our stakeholders? Because I always say it takes two to tango, so you can't do it alone. You have to work with the community together. In the whole supply chain, the port doesn't stop just at the boundary of the port. It's the whole supply chain that needs to work together. Ports with ports as well. So it takes two to tango, help each other, share knowledge, share experience, and learn from each other. Back to digitization, we offer a maritime single window called Apica. It's fall 2024 ready. So all the fall documentation that needs to be there under the IMO is already implemented. We need smart devices to cover and to maintain our port environment regarding maintenance that needs to be done on quay walls, for example. But as well for the security of that port environment, we need smart devices to capture information and get that information to use it on data platforms and so on. We offer as well, together with our community, we look for solutions, like from January 2024, CPU will be implemented and obliged to all our terminal operators. It's certified pickup. It's to ensure security releasing containers from terminals towards the hinterland of Europe. As well, the Port of Zeebrugge and Antwerp together as Port of Antwerp-Bruges, situated along the seaside. Antwerp situated in the middle of Europe. All the industries in a range of 500 kilometers within our port environment, linked via water canals, pipelines, roads, rail, for example. So we need to follow digitization as well. How do we do that? By hackathons, organizing hackathons, for example. So we invite young startups to look for applications, solutions in our challenges. So we invite as well the young potentials to help us to look for applications for whatever challenge we have. And we do that together with Port of Los Angeles, Port of Barcelona, and so we organize that. So, but as well important, and I didn't hear that here today, so innovation is led by innovative people, so skill development is as well very important. We organize together with GMPT, for example, we have a collaboration in sharing our knowledge, offering training and so on. So skill development as well, very important. And then as the last point, cyber resilience, also very important, guys. The more innovative things you implement, the more you get vulnerable for other people with bad intentions to get access to your data, to get access to your information. In a very port-efficient world, at Port of Antwerp-Bruges, people with bad intentions use that environment, unfortunately, to import that white powder. But you see those guys become as well more and more innovative, like drones and so on, to capture information, to get information. So we need to protect our environment as well, and we only can do that by innovation. Okay? Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Cornelian. I think very pertinent points in terms of, startups and the skill development, the softer aspects also of the, of usage of technology and adoption. Next, we will, move back home to Dr. Raju, right? Dr. Raju, a pleasure to have you. It'll be great to hear from you in terms of a very, very pertinent topic when it comes to emerging technology, right? Is the 5G and the opportunity it holds for the maritime sector. Oh, Dr. Raju, please go.
Respected delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. We have been discussing this for the past 1 hour on various aspects of digitalization, communication and all. But we need to evaluate ourselves where we are and what we need to do. So when we look into carefully, we have something which I mapped it for this purpose is ordinary ports and smart ports. So ordinary ports, what are all the things we have currently? And in order to qualify ourselves to become smart port, what we need to have. So these things we need to look into very carefully because there is a money involved in it. Because still we are using conventional phones and we also have the fancy foldable flip phones as well. So we need to select what we need. So that is the most important point which we need to look into when we look for automation related aspects. Then the next one is on the actual 5G technology and smart ports. Of course, we have quite a lot of opportunities because communication technology helps us a lot in terms of a major role in technology and automation. But of course, we also accept that the current technology we have has some limitations in technical as well as in terms of maintenance and more importantly, the coverage and number of users it can able to reach. But with 5G technology, we can able to come out of all those limitations. And the most important aspect here is we are well connected, but wherever we require automation, it's already well connected. So this is a good aspect. So now I will move to some of the aspects of the next generation port, where we have end-to-end digitalization, right from the last mile connectivity all the way to the anchorage, we need communication. So whether it is gate, customs, cargo and container clearance, implementation of ICT and IoT in machinery-related environment, implementing of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, business intelligence, big data, all those things comes in as a part of this. And more importantly, what we are looking at is the next generation e-navigation. That also needs quite a lot of this. And finally, we need a KPI. So that is where data-driven and decision-making also an important for it. And we discussed a lot during the Vision 2030 documentation as well as on 2047, where we have the important component of digital-led smart boards, and that's where we have been evaluating where we are and what we need to do by 2030. So how much automation is required by 2030, which we can able to achieve through that. So finally, I'll go into the challenges. Port is an environment which has all sort of machineries. It has huge machineries, all tall and very, complex operational process involved in that. And that is where we need to look into how we can enhance our communication technology. The most important component is whether retrofitting is possible, because we do have ports with machinery which is old and machinery which is new. So new has a compatibility with IoT technologies, but old we still need to struggle with them. But we can able to, I think, come out of it in order to make sure that this also can able to be integrated with this. And custom and tailor-made solution. 5G privatization, I think our good friend from Antwerp has already done some of this work. So this will be a good opportunity for us to develop our own networks. And this helps us a lot in terms of optimizing our productivity as well. And another thing which we started our testbed studies. And one of that, after testbed, what? So we need to look into the telco, how they are going to help us in this. So there should be a business model and a policy so that it will be easy for us to implement as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raju. And then last but of course not the least, we will now come to Mr. Kusito, right from Finland, where he can share again a very, very specific experience of how maritime technology works in terms of the green and the efficiency. So Mr. Kusito, it will be great to hear from you in terms of how technology has enabled tug improvements and tug efficiencies and to reduce GHG emissions. A very, very specific use case of how technology has enabled both the green aspect of the sector.
Thank you very much. Can you play the presentation? Yeah, great to see so many here still. It's starting to be quite late, but nevertheless, yes, I'd like to talk about the TAC technology. And I have met here many port representatives, shipyards, designers, and with everybody we have discussed about the decarbonization options, hybrid systems, and different ways to reduce emissions. So I'm very happy to see that India is taking a big leap in this sense now. And when it comes to emission savings, there are some low-hanging fruits available. I'm a propulsion man. I like propellers, but you know, there are some obvious selections that you can make for your tug. You need to install as big propeller as possible, slowly rotating propeller to improve the efficiency, and modern nozzle, a modern propeller design enabled by the CFD calculations. With that way you can save 10% of your fuel and without any additional capex actually. So it's a very obvious choice. So size does matter in this sense. And if we want to take things to next level, hybrid driveline is a good option to reduce emissions. We used diesel engines for the normal work. We use electric motors driven by battery power for slow steaming, you know, standby, transits, and in that way we can save 20 to 30% of fuel. We have references that have accomplished 37% of fuel savings by doing this way. It's approximately 20% more expensive to build a ship like this. So, and then if we want to go further, we might consider alternative fuel. There has been so much discussions about the different alternative fuels and the features of those fuels, so I didn't go there in detail. But what we see is that the HVO, hydrotreated vegetable oil, is very convenient choice if it's available. So that will improve the efficiency of the, reduce the emissions quite a lot in the tugs. And then if we think about using gas as a fuel, LNG, methane, there is potential to save emissions with that as well, good potential, but the availability of the fuel, the storing, it's pretty complicated to store on the vessel. You cannot install very big tanks and so on. And then we have methanol. That is something that most of the tug building yards are now betting on. So there is a lot of methanol options on the market. There are some upgrade options also that you can convert your diesel-driven tug into methanol. And then we have hydrogen. Hydrogen is extremely pure, clean, nice. However, it's very expensive. It's difficult to store. But if you have it available in your port, the green hydrogen, it's also an option. What we see now is that quite big part of the new tug designs are betting on pure batteries. So fully electric tug that might have small diesel gensets to back up the operation is a way to go, and especially on the harbor side. You don't need that long endurance on the harbor. You can charge it, get back to work. It's very, very clean and nice solution. So overall, anyway, there are so many different needs, so many different ports with different fuel availabilities, different operations. So the best selection for you will be done case-by-case basis. So there is no silver bullet other than the propeller size, which I mentioned. So that's something to consider also, is that when you make a decision that I want to go to hybrid, okay, what does it mean? What size of batteries do you want? How can I optimize the powertrain? Where do I have short charging capabilities? And that's something that I like to especially give regards to ports, that the short charging capability is of course must to enable all these fully electric solutions. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Cosito. And it's technologies like these which will be going forward very critical, right? I mean, we have the Green Harit Sagar, the Green Port Policy. We have this entire blue economy vision of making our ports carbon neutral. So it will be technologies of these which will further enable those activities, right? So I'd like to open the forum to any questions which all of you might have. Yes. Yes. Can you give them a mic, please?
Good evening. My name is Milan. Very simple question. I mean, over the past 1 century, we are focused on, industrialization, and we, evolved from steam engines to diesel engines. But now the situation arises that we are going to use lithium-ion batteries in ships. Now, there exists also the fact that lithium-ion batteries with direct exposure to salt water leads to corrosion and risk of fires. So, is this an exactly very safe environment for the seafarers to work in? And if there is, how can we tackle this problem?
Yeah, I'd like to come in on that. I think that's a really extremely important point. Seafarer safety as we move forward with these technologies. And this is, again, I mean, this is one of the reasons for our association, and it's a responsibility. We're working directly with the International Maritime Organization on creating standards where all this technology will be safe before it is allowed to be used on a vessel and going through test processes. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, batteries, people think of them as being reasonably innocent, but a battery fire can, it's self-generating. A battery creates its own fuel as it burns. It's an absolutely terrifying thing. But it can be built in a way where that fire is stopped at one cell, and it doesn't, you don't get thermal runaway with the batteries. And the same with the hydrogen fuel cells, or hydrogen as a fuel on a vessel. We were recently in CCC, in the committee, a Marine Safety Commission committee, carriage of cargoes and containers, working on fuel safety. And, we worked on it for 2 weeks. We hit the pause button because we didn't get all the way with it. And we'll come back again, and we will not use these fuels on vessels until we can actually absolutely assure seafarer safety.
If I can suggest, I think we try this first with inland waterways, try to explore it a little more right before we set it, for the people out there and international shipping routes. Because a distress
That's exactly
call,
what we're doing. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. We're starting on inland waterways. We're starting with small vessels. We're starting with test cases. We're not over-engineering in a negative way, but making, double safe in all aspects, over safe, if you will.
Thank you so much.
And train your people as well on board. That's also important. Learn your people how to go, how to react in a dangerous situation. So people who are working down deck, for example, needs to know as well the circumstances they have to handle in that specific situation.
I just want to make one more comment on the safety side of it. For example, the immediate reaction if there is an LNG leak or if there's a hydrogen leak are exactly opposite. And this is again why training is so essential and why we need to separate it out for each one of the fuels.
Sure. Thanks a lot. And
Hello,
we'll move to
I
the
have-
next question. And
I have a question.
Yeah,
I am from Indian Maritime University faculty. Last 2 days, that most of the sessions, the key word or key takeaway is data-driven decision making. Data-driven decision making. You also talked about data-driven decision making, but without that also, non-data-driven decision making really matters. When it comes to COVID-19, we also just depend more on that non-data-driven decision making. What is your take on this?
Mr. Agarwal, do you want to? If I understand, I think the data-driven decision-making is something which is important element, but even with all the uncertainties, there is still challenge. Is that what the question is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my stress is more on non-data-driven decision-making. That really matters. We have seen during COVID time.
I think, maybe I'll just push in. I think, sir, from what I understand, see, as we always say, there are known knowns and there are known unknowns, right? Technology and everything can try to solve for the known knowns. There will always be unknowns, right? I think Mr. Agarwal also talked about, the age of disruption. So the idea is to reduce that bucket and keep moving forward on that, if that helps, right? There's no easy answer to that. Very quickly, we'll move to the next.
Hi. Hi, thank you very much for the amazing insights. I'm Anand Gurnani from VAMR. My question is on, when we talk about digital transformation, we also have to talk about change management, because at the top level, you might see the advantages of the technology, but you want every member of the team to embrace it in a motivated manner, so that it is effectively implemented. So are there any insights you want to share on embracing of technology and managing change within teams, where you've changed processes, where you've brought in technology that is disruptive, where people might even feel insecure about their own roles, and how has that process been? Because you gave very good insights earlier, and it would be good to hear more.
Very good point, actually, because I think any change, technology, specifically disruption which is happening in our industry, the biggest area which we underplay is the change management. Normally we tend to forget this because we see a bigger picture of saying technology is going to help us, cost is going to come down, it is going to make us more effective, but we forget about the change management as it starts to impact the people. The point is, if you take any example in any industry, technology actually has helped rather than destroy in any manner. So there are enough and more examples of multiple industries where the ultimate benefits has reaped in. And so this is how we should be able to relate it exactly, because any change, fear, anxiety will come in. And by the time when you get to acceptance, whether it's just a long cycle or a short cycle, is up to us. How do we really start to influence people? And I think you have a very good point there.
No, I know there are plenty of questions, but I think, in the interest of time, we will have to take them offline, but I will request, some of the panelists to spend some time and look forward to the questions, because it's an evolving topic. But I think it's also, a time for us to, also hear from Shripat Naik ji and about his address. So over to you, Manasi.
Check, yeah. So as rightly said, we have constraints of time, so let us move on and invite Shri Shripat Naik ji, Honorable Minister of State for Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India, for this special address. We are eager to hear from you, sir.
Namaskar. Good afternoon to all. Dignitaries on dais for this session on emerging technology in maritime sector. Mr. Sunil Paliwal ji, Chairman, Chennai Port Authority and Kamraj Port Limited. Dr. N. Vinod Kumar ji, Chairperson, Marmugua Porters Authority, Goa. Mr. Dhruv Gadji, Partner Management Consulting, PwC. Mr. Samresh Joshi ji, Deputy Director General, Ministry of IT and Communication, Government of India. Mr. Pradeep Desai ji, Chief Technology Officer, DP World. Mr. Madad McLeanji, Secretary General, Zero Emission Ship Technology Association. Mr. Vikas Agrawalji, Managing Director, South Asia, AP Moller Maersk. Mr. Cohen Corneliji, Manager Port Projects, Ports and Antwerp, Belgium, Belgium. Dr. D. Kumaran Rajuji, Principal Scientist, National Technology Center for Ports, Waterways and Coasts. Ms. Juicy Quisistoji, Sales Director, Thug Naval and Workboats, Kongsberg Maritime, Finland. All the dignitaries of the dais, distinguished delegates, brothers and sisters. Today, I wish to take you on a journey through the transformative landscape of the Indian maritime sector, where technology acts as a beacon guiding us towards the safer, more efficient, and sustainable waters. In this era of sweeping change, where trends and technologies coverage, the Indian maritime sector is undergoing a remarkable transformation. It's a sector that has long been lifeblood of our nation's trade and commerce, connecting us to the world. Now it's evolving, becoming smarter, more resilient, and environmentally conscious. As we delve into this maritime evolution, we find ourselves amidst a sea of digital solutions. The adoption of the IoT device for real-time vessel monitoring and the implementation of blockchain for transparent supply chain management are at the forefront. India is increasingly embracing this digital tool to enhance efficiency, safety, and sustainability in maritime operations. But let us not lose sight of the core essence of our maritime industry. It's a realm of the vast seascapes, bustling ports, and the ceaseless ebb and flow of goods and vessels. It's about the dedicated seafarers, port workers, and the intricate dance of logistics that keeps the wheels of trade turning. In our quest for technological prowess, we must remember that these advancements are not mere gadgets. They are the gears that keep the maritime engine running smoothly. It's about the ensuring that cargo moves seamlessly, that vessel navigates safely, and that our ports operate efficiently. The integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning for predictive maintenance and the route optimization is gaining the momentum. And these tools are not just about the algorithm and data. They are about ensuring that our vessels are in top condition, reducing the downtime, and optimizing the routes to save time and resources. Furthermore, these advancements are not happening in the isolation. They are part of a large national initiative, Digital India. This initiative not only positions India as a technological powerhouse, but also emphasizes that technology should serve the people, enhancing their lives and livelihoods. As we look at the digital initiative in our maritime sector, we must see beyond the lines of the code and the network of the sensors. These initiatives streamline the processes, enhance the transparency, and make the data-driven decision, ensuring that the gears of our maritime industry turn smoothly. Let's also acknowledge that this technology are not a destination, but a journey towards the operational excellence. IoT device provides real-time monitoring and control of asset, while blockchain ensures the secure and transparent transaction and the data sharing. Automation optimizes workflow, reducing the human error and increasing the efficiency. Data analytics unlocks the insights from vast data sets, enabling the businesses to adapt and innovate. By integrating these technologies, our Indian maritime sector enhances operational excellence, reduces the costs, and gain a competitive edge in a rapidly evolving digital world. In navigation, a crucial aspect of this transformation is redefining how ships navigate the seas. It integrates the electronic system and digital data to enhance the efficiency and safety of the maritime operations. But let us remember, it's not just about the digital map and GPS coordinates. It's about making the maritime transformation safer, more efficient, and environmentally friendly. The fruit trends in navigation promise even more exciting possibilities, including the autonomous vessels, augmented reality navigation tools, and advanced AI-driven route optimization system. These innovations not only improve the precision and reliability, but also contribute to reduce fuel consumption and lower environmental impact. While we embrace this technological advancement, it is essential to realize that they are not isolated to our shore. Globally, the maritime sector is rapidly evolving with innovation like blockchain for transparent cargo tracking, AI-driven predictive maintenance, and smart port management system. Our ports are becoming the more agile and customer-centric, fostering a more competitive and efficient environment for the global trade and commerce. The integration of 5G technology in the Indian maritime sector presents both challenges and opportunities. 5G's high-speed, low-latency connectivity enables the real-time data exchange, facilitating the remote monitoring and control of vessel and cargo handling. However, it also possesses infrastructure and cybersecurity challenges. Nonetheless, 5G has the potential of revolutionize the maritime industry by enabling the efficient automation and digitization, ultimately leading to safer and more efficient maritime operations. In a remarkable milestone, telecom operators have successfully installed more than 3 lakhs 5G mobile sites within just 10 months of this service of the launch across the 714 districts. This opens up the new horizon for remote monitoring, better control of ship, efficient navigation system, and more. The future of the maritime autonomy is another exciting chapter in our journey. It encompasses unmanned vessel and advanced automation technologies that promise the enhanced safety, cost saving, and increased operational efficiency. While we face regulatory hurdles, cybersecurity concerns, and testing challenges, the promise of more sustainable and eco-friendly shipping, optimized logistics, and improved the emergency response keep us moving forward. Our maritime sector is a vibrant tapestry of the tradition and technology. As we navigate these waters, let's not forget the heart of our industry, the people, the vessels, and the bustling ports. Together, we are forging a maritime future that is safer, more efficient, and environmentally responsible. I welcome you at this Global Maritime India Summit 2023, and thank you for joining us on this voyage of the maritime sea. Thank you very much. Jai.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, time to express our gratitude towards all the speakers, panelists who are present today, all the experts who have deliberated on the topic. Let me begin by requesting yes, Shri Sunil Paliwal, Chairman, Chennai Port Authority and Kamarajar Port Limited, to please present a memento to Mr. Sumanesh Joshi, Deputy Director General, Ministry of IT and Communication, Government of India. Mr. Pradeep Desai, Chief Technology Officer, DP World. Madam Madat MacLean, Secretary General, Zero Emission Ship Technology Association. Thank you, Mr. Paliwal. I will now request Mr. S. Vishwanathan, Deputy Chairman, Chairman Port Authority, to kindly step up on stage and present a memento to Mr. Vikash Agarwal, Managing Director, South Asia, AP Mollusk. Mr. Koen Corneli, Manager, Port Projects, Port of Antwerp, Bourges, Belgium. Dr. D. Kamaran Raju, Principal Scientist, National Technology Center for Ports. Thank you, Mr. Vishwanathan. And now, could I request Srimati J.P. Irene Cynthia, Managing Director, Kamarajar Port Limited, to kindly step up on the dais and present a memento to Mr. Jussi Kunisisto, Sales Director, Tugs, Naval and Workboats, Kongsberg Maritime, Finland, OI. Request you, ma'am, to also present a memento to Mr. Dhruv Gad, Partner, Management Consulting, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you, ma'am. Could I request all those seated on the dais to kindly rise for a group photograph? We would like to treasure these moments in the form of pictures. Can you just come close together? Yes, that will be nice. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain with us for the next few moments. Just for a minute or two. Thank you. Concluding remarks and vote of thanks will be delivered by Dr. N. Vinod Kumar, Chairman, Mormugoa Port Authority, Goa.
Respected Session Chair Shripad Naik ji, Convener Mr. Sunil Paliwal, all the speakers, esteemed speakers on the dais, and the wonderful audience we have. So in a session where emerging technologies are discussed, I've got the easiest of jobs just to express a word of gratitude to all the speakers. So it's my pleasure to first thank the session chair, Shripad Naik ji, our beloved Honorable Minister of State for Port Shipping and Waterways, for having come here and chairing this session. And we had a wonderful session, and it was very evident from the number of questions which we were receiving. And I'm sure that the speakers will be able to spare probably some more time after this session if it's convenient for them to answer the questions. And I would like to thank Mr. Thrugat for effectively and efficiently moderating the session. He was speaking about he wonderfully mentioned the port leader versus, the port leader and the technology leader. And we know that most of the times the technology leader will be the industry leader as well, provided we have inducted the right kind of technology into our businesses. And I would like to thank Mr. Sumnesh Joshi, DDG, for giving us a status on the 5G and its impact on the maritime business, and also sharing the Honorable Prime Minister's dream on the 6G, which is yet to come. Mr. Pradeep Desai, I would like to thank you for sharing about the DP World's mission for carbon neutrality by 2050, and also inducting the IoT and other technologies into the business. Ms. McLean, for sharing the wonderful dream and how the technologies can drive towards the zero emission. It is a dream, and we probably will achieve it together. Mr. Vikash Agarwal, MD, for simplifying the global supply chains and telling us how we can reduce the cost and how important it is to have a control on the global supply chains. Mr. Corneli, we keep looking at the beautiful pictures of Port of Antwerp, yet to visit, but it's wonderful. And the website itself gives the kind of status you have achieved, the digitalization you have achieved. Mr. Kumaran Raju, we would like to thank you for the 5G inputs in maritime sector. Mr. Kusisto, it was a very wonderful topic which you discussed, the alternative fuels in tugs and how we can kind of reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank my colleague, Mr. Sunil Paliwal, because he has been single-handedly designing this session, deciding the speakers, etc. Thank you, sir. And also for giving me that additional responsibility of the Chennai port also. And I would also like to thank the FICCI team for coordinating the entire session, and also the wonderful audience for very effectively, for listening, patiently listening to the entire topic, and also coming out with excellent questions. Thank you very much. And I think we had a wonderful guest who was asking about no data-driven decisions. Offline we can discuss. Mr. Sunil Paliwal and I are experts in this. For the last 30 years, for the last 30 years we have been doing this, no data-driven decisions. So, but we can discuss this offline. It cannot be discussed in this emerging technologies sector. And thank you very much for a very, very interactive session, both the speakers, the session chair, and the audience. And FICCI, thank you very much.
On that note, we close this very engaging and enriching session. Thank you all for being a wonderfully lovely audience. Please note that this was the last session in this hall, and you may please collect your delegate kits from the registration desks while leaving. The exhibition remains open till 6 o'clock, just in case you want to visit a few stalls. Thank you all. This is Manasi signing off.